the dressing robe, I would have been so disappointed.
Wow.
You're amazing.
I'm home,
I got my virtual background as well.
Rayhan, yo!
Yeah.
Yo.
There we go. Now we're
That
in
is
business.
creepy,
Now we're in business.
You know what I was looking forward to, Tom? Tom, I was looking forward to you potentially seeing you today, not in one of your like Arsenio Hall ensembles, but like just wearing a JD tracksuit. But you've come through with a smoking jacket, bro.
I don't own one.
That shit
so-
is like,
yeah, man. It's like I'm very comfortable right now. So, you know, yeah, man. Have to be chilled. You know, I've been home for 2 weeks, so I only wear this.
All right, Jed. So, kudos to Mr. Ogun B for like putting this amazing idea together.
The biggest thing right now is everyone's feeling a little bit down and not so sure about what the future holds. So, you know, I think just basically trying not to think, keeping my mind preoccupied, watching many films I can. Riem, was it you the other day that said you've watched like something stupid already?
Like
like 3 weeks.
Man, it's crazy. It's not possible.
I've been under quarantine for like
that list
twice
was
as
long,
long
bro.
as you guys.
I was like, this guy's just been watching films, you know. It's
Also,
incredible.
like Star Wars, you get through in like one go, you know. With some of those other films, you know, it takes a bit of time.
I'm just throwing this out there
I mean,
again.
like,
I think Star Wars is pants. This is 2 episodes in a row. I think I'm coming for Star Wars.
Oh, no.
Gunning for Star Wars.
the
Every episode I'm going to be like,
the
Star
new
Wars
lot,
is
the new
pants.
lot or the old lot.
All of them.
That is
All of
that's
them are
not good.
pants.
Oh, very fun.
That's controversial.
That's great. I'm getting
They're
really
all
upset.
pants.
Not even the first series. Like,
They're all pants films.
I mean, the early ones are
Bro.
aren't bad though,
Is it,
no?
man?
Like the early films aren't. I mean, yeah, but
They were great.
I
when
think
I
it's
was, like,
taste,
11.
isn't it?
I was like, oh my
I have a bad
god.
luck said about Star Wars.
And then like after 15, they were like a little bit less. Oh my god. And then after 20, I was like,
I mean, but like 4, 5, and 6, I think are phenomenal, and I have a soft spot for 1, 2, and 3. But like, don't tell anyone. Yeah, I mean,
episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, is like such an underrated classic, though.
that's
that's Darth Maul, right? Is that Darth Maul?
That's the one
Yeah,
where
nah, that's
Anakin,
one, bro.
played by Hayden Christensen, where he turns. Like, that's the dark third
Oh,
episode of the
yeah.
prequel series from like 2005, 2006. That shit's actually dope. Like, that's
Yeah, it
not.
gets quite dark,
yeah.
actually, to be fair.
Hayden Christensen tries to act. Yeah, good film.
Yeah.
like on that,
He had a minute, he had a moment, but like it's like nobody really made it out of the prequels. Not the, you know the original kid.
Everyone suffered, man. Everyone suffered in that.
You know the original kid that played Anakin
Jake
when he was a
Lloyd.
kid in the
Yeah, what happened to
1999
that
one.
kid?
He got arrested for crack abuse and
Whoa.
shit. Like,
Oh,
for real.
Don't do crack.
What?
Yeah, like that dude's like strung out and shit. Like he's
Oh no.
No way.
See, that's the
Star Wars.
direct
It's
not
line.
right then.
You either want to be that director that starts careers, or you kind of want to be that director that ends careers. Like I'm one of those two guys.
yeah.
I'm cool. I'm cool.
That's
terrible to hear, though.
That's the
Bloody
child
hell.
actor curse, man. It's very unfortunate. But I'm curious to see who's going to make it up out of the new series, because I'm wondering what the limits are and who and what I can critique during this podcast. But like, I'm not a big fan of Daisy Ridley, and if
No holds barred, bro.
No holds barred.
just in case this
How
comes
you
back to
feel?
haunt me, just in case we ever end up casting Daisy Ridley in any of our movies, let's forget this moment. But just between us, like I love Boyega, I love Oscar Isaac.
yeah.
Both of those guys had careers before and will have careers after
Yeah,
the new series. How can I forget Adam Driver? But Daisy Ridley is one of the dullest.
She lacks charisma.
Like
even when-
entities in the entire Star Wars universe.
I love gunning Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta pick and
I'm
choose.
all
But I will have to agree with Shan on that one. Yeah.
Has anyone seen anything cool on Netflix to recommend?
Are we allowed to like say streaming services all across the board?
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't
fair.
have
Great
Netflix,
show.
but like, yeah.
Not everyone's got that multi-subscription going on, you know.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
It's not cheap, bro. Yeah,
True. Yeah.
Who,
That's a
who's
great
who's
show.
rocking Disney Plus?
just
No.
got it. Yeah.
Disney Plus.
Way too much money though. Come on, like it's
How much is Disney Plus?
Every Simpsons episode in the planet, mate. That's it. That's worth the 50 quid alone.
okay.
Gosh, that's me sorted.
Oh,
too
they
much
have
money.
Simpsons as well.
I mean, that's like
Every bro, because Disney, you're like, oh, that's there. Oh, but then Disney, oh yeah, but Fox did it, and now you know what I mean. So they just because they own all the subsidiaries now, so like they own everything. It's stupid.
Except for like A24, and I hope to God they don't buy A24 because that's like the last surviving like faction of like great cinema.
Yeah, if they buy A24, I'm gonna have to buy Disney Plus. I think I'm gonna have to consider it.
There isn't like a bad film that A24 has made, you know. Well, not that many anyway. Like,
but it's just, isn't it amazing how like A24, in terms of like its branding, in terms of how it's perceived, especially like in our space, like A24 is just completely like you can't F with it. Like it's just the game is so strong, man. Like every one of us here is like wishing, hoping, dreaming we could work with like an A24 and stuff. It's
because they actually make good films though, which I think is rare. You know, like they actually care about.
They work with the right directors.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's true.
That's it right there, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so no Disney. So I guess Disney Plus is. I guess no one's been catching anything on Disney Plus. What about Amazon?
You know what? I got access to a mate's Amazon account, and it's kind of whack. You know.
Not a lot on there, is there? In terms of like what's included, you have to externally buy a lot of them as well, which is a bit of a.
That's what sucks. That's what sucks.
Yeah.
Like you go on it, the interface and the general user
It's
experience.
so ugly,
of the way
right?
that you use it is so. It's like it's very confusing, and sometimes the subtitling is inconsistent. Because I'm trivial like that. Like things like that matter, right?
No,
like the subtitling is too slow and shit.
I watch all my films with subs, so like
exactly.
I feel you.
So I mean, look, once again, you know, my current views do not reflect my future ambitions to get permission to do a series or anything for Amazon Studios, obviously. But yeah, definitely. I think Amazon needs to step his game up, and it's obvious that Netflix is very much. It is the cultural bar. It is in terms of the programming that it's produces for social media platforms. Have you guys seen Tiger King?
I haven't seen it. I keep hearing about the show.
That shit's crazy. It's
mental. Yeah.
It's like a meme harvest. Like you need to watch the show. It's insane.
Is it a doc or a narrative?
It's a 7-part documentary.
That's a doc, okay.
And
it
is. I don't know where to begin, man. Like you need to see this show. Like it's one of the crazy.
Wow. It just sounds like absolutely crazy.
It's one of the craziest shows. It's one of the craziest stories. It's one of the craziest stories ever committed to like screen. It's insane. So do you guys know much about it?
No,
I've only seen the memes, but like. About it, yeah.
So it's
memes are everywhere, man. Memes are everywhere. It's annoying.
Yeah, it's basically set in this kind of community in Florida where you have these various zoos that are like they keep like big cats like tigers and lions and all sorts. And there's like 2-3. I think there's like many of these different zoos, but it focuses on 2 or 3 of them. This is a community. It's its own kind of like microcosm out there because apparently in the States they have more tigers in captivity than there are out there in actually in the wild. There are more tigers in Florida than there are in the wild globally. Did you guys know that?
No, that's crazy.
And it's about a guy called Joe Exotic, he's this eccentric, like peroxide blonde, mulleted a redneck. He's gay. He likes to shoot guns. He's yeah, and he's an interesting character, one of the most insane characters ever put to screen, and he basically has a vendetta against a rival zoo, which is run by this woman that kind of becomes his arch nemesis called Carol Bashkin. And it's about how his obsession with trying to bring down his arch nemesis Carol Bashkin leads to his downfall. And all the shit that happens in this series across 7 episodes is one of the best surrealist documentaries that I've ever seen, and the closest that I've seen to it on Netflix in terms of just like sheer compelling entertainment value.
Mm-hmm.
Can't believe it happened type shit is. Have you guys seen? It's called, the title of the show is, can I swear on this thing?
Oh yeah,
Don't Fuck with Cats.
It's called Don't Fuck with Cats, bro. Have you seen that, TJ?
Yeah, I mean, I followed that story kind of when it first kind of happened, and it's kind of scarred me. Unfortunately, I've seen that, like half of that video, parts of that video. So yeah, but I didn't know that was what I was walking into when I watched that documentary. I didn't realize it was about Luca Manata. And then obviously you have that moment where you realize where it's going. And I was like, oh, and I saw, and they show his face without any spoilers for the first time early in the in like, I think it was the second episode or something. And I was like, what the, oh, it's about this dude. And I was like, oh man, but amazing documentary, especially people that don't know about that story. The way they build that up is fucking sensational, because they started here and it already seems like quite a deep subject. And you are so underprepared for where that's going, and it's like it's a very, very scary doc. That thing, that's a very powerful, very well done though, very well done. So
you know what's crazy about that show? I was watching the first episode of Don't Fuck with Cats, and about 45 minutes into that, they cut to this segment of his story where he moves to London for like 10 months. Is at this B&B inside a pub, and then I'm looking at the screen and I'm watching it with my missus, and she goes, do you recognize that pub? And I went, wait a minute, that pub's at the bottom of the road.
Oh no.
No, for real.
Oh,
for
no.
real, this crazy serial killer, this like crazy homicide murdering dude stayed for 10 months. Wow. Literally 20 meters from my father's house in Wembley, bro.
That's so random, isn't it?
That's not cool. I mean, to be fair, like, I'm not going to give Luca Manata that many props. Like, he'll get a slap any time. Like, dude, his gig is like cats and like skinny Asian guys. Unfortunately, like I'm not too worried about Luca Manata, but you shouldn't feel too bad about it. You would have been okay. Look at you. You look scarier than him, really. To be fair.
Your mask and
you guys know I'm waiting for Netflix to shout me and give me a contract for my own documentary, right? So I can like, you see what's going on here, right? Yeah. It's so strategic.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I need to check that out though. Okay, you sold me on that, dude. I'm gonna check that out.
Sounds good.
You guys need to watch it. It is like it's the way. I think. Going back to what I was talking about earlier in terms of how Netflix, their content strategy dominates the cultural conversation. Like, just watching that as a business model is fascinating, and that is why they've completely like just monopolized the whole market, man. Like that is what, like, Netflix is the way Blockbuster became like iconography, like such a it's you know what I mean? Like that's the way Netflix is now, and that's the dream, I think, for most people, to like try and get something to work or partner with Netflix in any way, is because you're working with such an amazing team, with such an amazing marketing team as well.
And I think
so. Yeah, man. They
actually care about actual you as well, which I think is very rare, because most platforms don't actually care about you, I think. So I think it's everyone's goal to actually work with us. It's just transformed, because I remember 10 years ago they had old films on there mostly. Now they're actually making films, so it's wild,
If you had a choice to work with A24 or Netflix, but knowing that A24 will only give you a $8 million budget and they'll only release your film in limited theaters, or you can work with Netflix and they'll give you like, I don't know, $75 million budget, but they want, yeah, but they will distribute it like globally, you know, Chris, because Netflix is universal. Who would you choose? Would you choose A24 for clout, or would you go with Netflix for ubiquity? Like,
Well,
who would you go with?
So here's the interesting thing. I was watching one of those Hollywood roundtables like about a month or two ago, like around the time of the Oscars, and Lulu Wang was talking about how
Really
she was
Wong, yeah.
Yeah.
how she was presented with this same kind of like dilemma, like, do I go with Netflix or do I go with A24? And what she said was, she said that as like a young unknown director, if she had gone with Netflix, her film would have been likely her film would have gotten lost in like the millions and millions of films that are up there on Netflix. Unlike a film like Scorsese's, The Irishman, which would have gotten a lot more prominence because of like the name and like all the famous actors and blah blah blah. Whereas she felt that A24 was better suited to I think what she was creating and to her work as like a first time or second time director. But I mean, I think it really depends on where you're coming from, I suppose, and what point in your career you're in. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think me would be, because I think Netflix are a great platform. So, eyes will actually watch your film, which I think is good, but also I think that there's just so much options. Like I always find that every time I watch anything on Netflix, I have to just have 20 minutes where I just browse because I just can't choose what to watch. There's just TV shows and films, and so I find that and I always go for the big films. I find I don't really watch sort of small films on there, which I think is strange because you always want to see all the newest shows and all the newest films, and
so
it's
rather than like all indie films, I suppose.
yeah, exactly.
Unless it's got like a cult following, maybe, or everybody's talking about it on social media or.
No, of course, it's very but then in a way,
it's a difficult one. I mean, it's a great position to be. It'd be a great position to actually be in, right? To have like these two fucking giants, like both like both kind of like bidding for your film, but like
who would you choose, Ben? Given that ultimatum.
Yeah, right. I mean, personally, if you had like gun to my head, I'd go A24 just for the cultural appreciation I think that comes with A24. Like as an independent filmmaker, I think coming from that background, you appreciate that every film is like really well thought about and curated in the right space. So everything feels like it belongs. It's like a part of a family almost, or like a trilogy. So I think if you feel like your film fits in with that kind of agenda or genre or whatever I think then it would work. But then on the flip side, you might be looking for bigger things. You might want to say, look, I'm looking to get into more the high end, 100 mil films. I want to be breaking like in Hollywood. I want to be working with those kind of people. So then you might say, well, actually, maybe that's the right decision for me. So I guess, like Rian said, I think it really depends on your film and the situation you're in at that point in your career. Because there isn't there's no right or wrong, is there really? I think it's just that what the decision that's right for you at the time. But yeah, me personally, I'd go A24 just because of the bangers on there.
It's a prestige factor, isn't it?
Right? Yeah, just the bragging rights to say that. I mean, either one, you're gonna have bragging rights for sure. But I feel like Netflix is like if you want everyone else to know you're the bollocks, but A24 is like I know I'm the bollocks.
What about yourself, TJ?
I mean, if we're talking about like feature debut, then like A24, like it's not gonna your film's gonna die if it goes to Netflix. So Netflix is a great platform, but actually, like in terms of marketing, like the reality is that they've actually been heavily criticized for they don't have a marketing strategy, right? And actually it's their criticism, and obviously the fact that they've got so much, they're such a wealthy organization now that they have started, but it's only been a few years that they've actually been, for example, putting their films on billboards like, hey, this film is going to be on Netflix, by the way. That their strategy before was a lottery system where they go, that was their deal, is there was no overheads on marketing, right? So they put films in this like churning machine and let the culture bring them to the surface, and then market the ones that were getting the traction. And so that's cool. And like, you know, that can work in your favor, sure. Like, because it means that if your film starts banging on Netflix, it's just because people are genuinely finding it and spreading it themselves. And that's like the seed for a cult following to start on a commercial platform. So that's like best of both worlds. But that's basically a fucking lottery ticket, bro. Like, and I'm not, if we're speaking about debut features, because everyone here would be, I guess, in that realm, then it's like, I don't think there's really anything that advantageous about it, other than like kind of being able to say to like your immediate network, hey, our film's on Netflix. And also like we've all kind of got people in our network who have had exactly that. They got films on Netflix, but like I've never heard anyone outside of the circle talk about their film, which, you know, is a bit crazy. So if it's A24, A24's got a limited amount of films they're going to bring out in that 12 months, right? And for you to be amongst those films, in terms of industry, people are going to pay attention because you're one of the few films that they're going to bring out in a year. You're going to get a theatrical release too. And then you're probably going to end up on Netflix fucking anyway. So it's like, why would I cut out the first two perks of going with A24? So like, it just would be a no-brainer, A24 for me. Yeah. I'd probably choose most.
I would have both, I think.
Over Netflix.
Yeah, ideally both.
Both.
I mean, exactly. You're probably going to pick both, right? But I think if I was given that most of the time, I would hope I'd probably even take my bet if theatrical release is an important component for me. So I'll go where there's theatrical release, and then, you know, my thinking would be like, look, make the best film we can, because then it can't be ignored by anyone. And then how do we get it to them and get in those conversations? And those guys, you know, they have good enough taste that they respect good work, right? And so you'll still get to that table if the work's strong anyway, right? So for me, it's like get theatrical. That's so important for the culture for your films to still be going into the cinema. Even if no one's seeing it, get a theatrical release if you can, because that's something that maybe a next generation of filmmakers might not get the opportunity for, depending on where things go. And it's like, I grew up like thinking, if I ever saw my film, like we've all seen our films in cinemas now, which is cool, but you know, to see your first feature film in the theater, like that's it. That's the whole thing that we grew up like, oh, that day is going to be amazing, right? So theatrical is super important for me, and I think like just as a milestone for a filmmaker, you gotta experience that too. You know, there's a sentimental side to that like we shouldn't give away. And then if the work's great, like, you know, you're gonna have that opportunity, and it should be within your strategy for the film's longevity to be setting up that conversation with those guys, be it Amazon, Netflix, whatever it is, Disney, you know, whoever it's going to be. Sure.
Disney Plus. I mean,
Disney Plus. I mean, yeah. Disney Plus.
Joke now, but like Disney could just do what they seem to have done the last 5 years and just come and bulldoze everyone and be like, yeah, we don't like the way you guys are playing. We're just going to buy you. We're going to offer you too much money for you to even think about trying to compete with us anymore.
Nice franchise. We'll take it.
Right.
Sure. Although Netflix, shout props to Netflix. Netflix dropped 100 mil, didn't they, to Hollywood?
That's true.
Flow. Yeah, so props. They're like, hey, you know how you look? I love this. This is why I do really respect this move, right? It's such a power play, because they're like, oh yeah, sure, okay, yeah, you keep criticizing us, calling us the death of cinema, but here's 100 mil just to help you guys. Right? Okay.
Yeah. That's a
sorry,
you guys aren't making money at the moment, but we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that time when like digital saved cinema? Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so
But that's so much money, though. I wonder where they actually get it from, because they just seem to have a lot of money. I don't know.
no, look, dude, they got
It's,
millions and how
it's
many?
just
How many?
mind-blowing.
It's like tens of millions of subscribers at this point. It's like a
Hmm.
Netflix is no joke.
Wow.
Man. Netflix
Yeah.
is no joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done their thing, man. They've done their thing. Where do we think, in line with actually where we set up? See, I love how loose this is, and where you just end up going off somewhere else.
How
But
tangential.
what are we thinking of? The lockdown, COVID-19. Obviously, this is like, if anyone had projects on the go right now, they were like pause button. But what do we think long term wise? Interesting opportunity, or is it a bit of a hindrance? What do we reckon?
I mean, I can speak from someone who literally was about to go into pre-production. Although I would still argue I kind of am still in pre-production. I just think it's like an extended period of time.
Yeah.
So, I've used this opportunity, to reach out to my collaborators and, to really just dive deeper into the concepts that we've been working on. Obviously, a lot of us all here will write our own material as well, so we know that process can be quite strenuous at times. And I think there's always more you can do or add or kind of work with over time. So it's nice to have a little bit more time to work on a script. I also, I think it's nice that instead of sitting here going, well, in 2 months we'll be able to start picking up again. I think, well, actually, this now is the time to be doing the work. So, working with your production designer on, how you might want to look at dressing your locations, or start working on the props and stuff that you think are appropriate. There's so much to do anyway. We forget, like, making a film is just like a never-ending list of chores, really, that you just kind of tick off as you go. So I think from that point, it's great. It's almost an advantage to have this much more time. Having said that, there are pros to kind of not being forced, but having deadlines. Because it kind of keeps you on track, and it keeps you to be like, right, I've got to do this at this point, so everyone's got to crack on and stay focused with it. And also, it doesn't allow you to steer too far away from what your original vision or your intention, because sometimes I know that you have too much time, you start to go, well, you start to second guess yourself, or maybe question why you were working on something, and you kind of lose that connection from the original material. So I think it can work both ways.
Nice, bro. What a sentiment.
It's an Oscar speech.
Nice. That was great. You give a great Oscar speech, bro.
Yeah.
What about you guys? What do you reckon? Has it? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what everyone had on. Has it put a pause in anything? I'm assuming if it has definitely put a pause if you did have something. But or has it given you guys more time that you're enjoying?
I think mine has just been, it's been quite hard, because I don't work at home normally, and actually I don't like it, because I find that every time I'm home, I always don't want to work. I want to chill. I want to watch films. I want to sleep. I want to eat a lot. And I found now the past 2 weeks, I probably gained weight, man, because I've just been eating like a lot of good food, like homemade food, junk food. I've been watching, films, which is good. But in terms of actually writing and working, I found that I think it's been the past 3 days where I've said, all right, I'm going to wake up at this time. I'm going to work from, this time to this time. And it's been helpful for me, because, I just, I like working in spaces that is sort of like, where I can see my friends working with me, and we all work basically as a team. I find that that's sort of my way of working. And I'm being just at home is you need to drive yourself to write. Which I think, again, I've got deadlines, so I've got to work. I can't not work, So by 5 I force. You got to force yourself. But in a way, I work when I'm just comfortable, and I think I'm almost too comfortable at home. That's the problem. I can just literally have a nap for 3 hours, wake up, and it's just. Whereas if I'm outside, I can't have a nap. I'm in a library. I can't just like have a for for 30 minutes. No, I mean, I got to
I
work.
mean,
So I think
I
that,
don't know, it's debatable, that one. Libraries, you know,
I mean,
big
true, yeah.
population.
It's sort of like, but I just find that because, I mean, everybody else is just working next to me. I'm just inspired and I work, you know. But I think, yeah, this past 4 days, you know, has been good because you know, I am now, but I was going to do a short film, which now I moved to. I mean, I don't really know. It's been moved, you know, and we're just sort of waiting just to see what happens. But I mean, again, I don't even care about the short because of what the hell is happening right now in the world. My short becomes almost less important, you know. And I think this past few weeks I've been really thinking about film. My whole life was films, you know. Film, you know, I breathed films. I would wake up thinking about films, but you realize that the things that more important than film, and that's life. And life's short, you know. And it's made me appreciate what I do even more. I'm lucky that I can make films, that I do make films, but also with what's going on around me, it's hard, you know. So yeah, I don't know how you guys have sort of like dealt with it. Have you been working better, more, or has it been hard for you guys?
Yeah, I feel like I feel like I've experienced like a mixture of those two. I mean, I personally I find um, personally I feel comfortable working from home. I've always written from home in my bedroom. Like even when I was doing my masters, I was always at home writing my essays rather than in a library or on campus. Mainly because I feel like I need to be in a silent setting, and weirdly enough, I guess it kind of works because like there's no traffic on the road. There's just the sounds of like birds every day, and like, you know, it's really bizarre. It's almost too silent. It's kind of eerie, I suppose. But like it's been I mean, it's been all right, but I feel like it's slowly getting to that point where I guess I'm starting to experience, you know, what you call a cabin fever, where you just kind of like leave the house or do something, and I can't really do that. And I feel like that's slowly kind of eating away at like the creativity. I managed to continue working on like what I was writing before and come up with a you know with a treatment for something else, for like another film that I'd like to make over here as well. It's been all right. I just need to kind of like hammer it out, and I think I'm having trouble just kind of sitting down and putting my ideas like onto paper, or rather like writing a script, because like I have the script in my head and like I'm already tweaking bits and pieces in little scenes here and there, but I just really need to like write it down, I suppose. And I think yeah, I guess being stuck inside and like living at home with your parents is like not good for your like mental health. No, it's all right. It's fine. But like, you know, every now and then you need a bit of space. You know? So, yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess apart from that, I'm trying to like spend my time, like in addition to all of the writing, I'm trying to spend my time. I've been watching a lot of these master classes, you know, the ones you see on Facebook. Every other ad is like an ad for like fucking master class. I bet as filmmakers, you guys get these ads as well, because I get them all the fucking time. And like that shit actually worked on me, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna torrent that.
Oh, torrent.
I respect that, man. I respect that,
Torrent
bro.
on the line. Torrent, you know, bro. There's no torrent, man.
Yeah.
Yo, hey man, hey, how you doing, bro?
Oh, God.
Hey man.
Bro,
Jay, I gotta call you back, bro.
It's not your turn yet, brother.
All right, love.
Give him 20 minutes.
Continue. That was just when a legend calls, you gotta let him in. Right? Carry on.
But yeah, like I was basically like I've basically been, so I just watched the Scorsese masterclass, which I did not find at all useful. I feel like it was a masterclass tailored towards I think first time filmmakers. There wasn't really any useful advice in there. But what I'm watching right now, which is like absolutely mind blowing, is the Miranaya masterclass.
Oh yeah, that looks good. That looks good. Yeah.
It's amazing, and it's in like it's in independent filmmaking. I think Spike Lee also did one like that. Yeah. Like I plan on watching this one afterwards. but it's like she actually goes out there and she directs a scene, and it's fantastic. It's just so insightful actually seeing how a 60, 70, well, she must be like
I
about
think she's
60 something now, like
late 60s.
in like her early 60s apparently, and like seeing like the way she works with actors, and there's so many tips in there as well that she gives you for like how to deal with actors, you know, coming up with color schemes, how to direct actors. And it's just, I mean, I feel like I've learned a lot just through watching these videos. And of course, it's a whole nother ball game actually getting out there into the field and doing it. And, you know, I mean, I feel like directing actors, I mean, I feel like that's a skill that comes with experience. It's not really something you can learn from a textbook or from a video, but to just see somebody else do it is just, I mean, I'd highly recommend downloading it, getting that particular class, just being so I learned a lot.
Interesting point. You just sorry to interrupt you, Ed. At the end of that, when you were, because I actually I picked up this book. Hang on a second, I've got it right here. I can't remember who recommended this to me, but it's called Directing Actors by Judith Weston.
Great book, bro.
Great book, bro, right?
Yeah.
And this guy
was
here, right?
like a Bible, you know. Yeah.
Honestly, dude. So for me, like I felt became like a better director or a director of my own actions and things like as you say, Red, like it isn't really until you go out and try these things. Obviously, that's when you start to learn how to find your own ways and processes of communicating with your actors and your performers. But this definitely pushed me in the right direction in my way of thinking. Like I was realizing that I was sabotaging myself with like using like some words like not incorrectly, but maybe not in the way that they were useful.
Yeah.
And that
Which what language might that have been, Ben?
So like basically like result directing. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, oh yeah, can you just like jump higher? Like it's the basic stuff, you know. When you start, and you're like, yeah, but why don't you get it? Just jump higher. And they're like, well, I don't know, can my character jump? You know what I mean? Like,
but Ben, like, let me just say this: you're actually an incredibly sensitive director. Like we've done 3 shoots together now, and it's fantastic.
The love is real in this group, man. And there's so much love, man.
Sorry.
I said, love is real in this group, man.
Yeah. No, but it's amazing because I feel like when we worked on those show reels together, you were working with actors of different, you know, different kind of like actors with like different levels of experience. And that can be incredibly challenging because I mean, when you cast a short film, you go for the best, right? You go for the best within your budget at least, and they're usually actors who've done like a lot, right? Whereas like when you're doing these show reels, you're creating show reels, you know, for people like me with 0 experience, you know, and like I love the way you work with actors and the way you, but just how kind of like supportive and encouraging you are with them when you can kind of tell that what they're doing isn't particularly well, I suppose when you're not getting what you want, I suppose, at the end of the day, and like the way
they're not connecting with the words or maybe
the vision, you know, with the script, with the
intentions, right?
Yeah, I think with every film I've done, I find I'm always learning. I'm always unlearning and relearning, which is weird. It's like it feels like I haven't done it before, which is kind of terrifying. You're like, I've done some shorts, but then every short you're like, how do I?
Does that change?
You know, it's terrifying.
Does that change? Does that change from like? Because you work with similar actors on each of your shorts, maybe bar the right choice. And do you feel you have to direct the same actor in different ways? Like, do you have to direct Femi differently in The Good Son from Tommy in The Good Son from Appreciation? Like, had she changed? Had your style changed? Like, well, what is?
I think it's a strange process because I think the text actually influences everything ultimately, you know. So I always find that you know, each film is always very different. So but then at the same time, you know, I find that I'm always relearning how to work with them because they're playing very obviously multiple characters as well. So I have to just try and, you know, find a way where you're working with them, but at the same time, you're careful about what you say and how you say it. And, you know, I think it helps working with the same actors because you know them, and this shorthand is there already, I suppose. But it's always hard, you know. And in my feature film, I'm hoping that I can translate that into this sort of process, because I find that each film is a learning curve. You're learning how to talk to them, you know, and then it's always harder when they're doing things you don't even want. How do you tell them that they should change that by being nice and not being like a twat? And I don't know. And I think I always want to try and be their friend as well. So trying to find that balance, like I'm your friend, but I'm now your director, you know, because again, I know them really well. They're all my friends and I've worked with them on all my films. So yeah, just like, you know, having that way of talking to them is always different.
It's always different. And I imagine it must be incredibly tough. And I feel like Ben sent me a little voice message last time. He was talking about rehearsing with actors, and I was just thinking about like not having the luxury of like rehearsing with actors, which a lot of feature film directors, first time or experienced, you know, have to deal with. Like, how do you kind of like enter that filmmaking process, that shooting process, without actually having like without having formed a relationship, whether it's a working like a professional relationship, or become friends with them, you know, before going into before going to shooting? Because I know that not everybody has the luxury of like rehearsing.
You have takes where you obviously rehearse with them, and I think it's always, I find that having that time to actually work with them is always good, even if it's one day.
Oh my God,
I think, but most times though, I don't really have that time. So you have to just sort of like work on the spot and just improvise and and most times it's always really, it's like it's bad and you can see it, and you're just trying to make sure that and again, there's no time, there's no money as well, and it's a strange process, to be honest. But I think in a way, again, it helps because I've worked with the same actors all the time. I don't always have to rehearse with them because I know how they act, you know, and I know when it's off. You can feel it, and even they can also feel it as well. And they're like, actually, that wasn't good, Tom. So let me just try it again, you know. But it's weird. I was on this shoot last month, and I was watching this guy work with actors, and I was like, his style and his form was so interesting, and I was learning so much. Yeah, you know, and I you know, this year I want to do more of that, where I'm just going to my friends' sets and just watching them work with actors, because I find that I learned so much in that one day shoot where I was just playing a small character. But I was watching how he was directing. I'd seen the stress on his face. I'm like, this is what it's like. You know, this guy wasn't eating anything all day. I was there eating like a full breakfast and sat down. You know, he was just like walking around with an apple in his hand, just like frantic. I'm like, this is messed up. You know? Why did we do this? Why did we do this to ourselves? You know.
I think what's really worthwhile as well would be like, I guess like, something incredibly useful as directors that, something I guess I would recommend would be like taking acting classes. I did this like about 3-4 years ago. I decided to take like evening acting classes, like after I moved back to Sri Lanka. Just like a friend of mine was doing these, like he's an actor, and like he decided to like host classes for like acting classes for anybody who was interested. And oh my gosh, it like really transformed the way that I viewed actors. I think it made me understand how vulnerable actors can be. And I feel like it really taught me how to communicate my own vision more kind of like authentically and more respectfully, without kind of speaking down, to them. I suppose it just made me more kind of like aware of what I was saying. And I just found it so incredibly useful. So yeah, highly recommend that.
I think what's harder is you have like at least maybe five actors or something. Because I know Terry, your last short film, you had like six,
Yeah, you've
7
got
main
like
actors.
ensemble
Yeah,
cast, right?
How do you freaking, because working with like one or two actors is of course very difficult, but when you have like 6, 7 main actors, how do you find that balance, Terry? Because I remember, your voice notes to me when you were shooting, I could hear in your voice the sort of, I mean, it was a very stressful shoot anyway, bro, but I could hear in your voice, bro, that like how challenging it was working with all these, and they're all main characters in the film as well. So how did you find that, man? Because
I mean,
it's
well,
a whole different ballgame.
it's interesting. It's like Rian says. I mean, so I'm fortunate that I started there. That's where I started. So
Nice.
I was acting from like 7. So I had 10 years of knowing of
That's
building
true.
that as the craft first. I didn't know I was going to become a director. I always make the joke. I'm not really joking that I don't know anything about directing. Right? I've just seen a shitload of movies and I know a lot about the craft of acting, and that seems to have translated well because of maybe how obsessed I am with I guess the technicalities of making films. But I know far more about acting. I would personally say than directing per se. Directing is just kind of instinctive to me. But so, and also I'd had like bad experiences which are really, really valuable. So the short film I'd done before, so the short film before Final Gift, I didn't do. We were speaking about the rehearsal phase and the importance of that. I didn't do the rehearsal. We did like we were. It was weird because it was so like we didn't have a producer until like the last like less than 2 weeks before we went out to France, and it was overseas, and so it was like I was like, look, in case we don't have a producer, I need to really like be on top of the logistics side of things as well, and so it was all kind of crazy, and we just didn't wind up having time we'd had like discussions and stuff, but we didn't have time to rehearse.
Right.
And so when we got on set, something happened where I realized that one of the actors wasn't as prepared for the scale of that short. Because when you hear short film, also people think like you're running around with like an iPhone. And so then when you rock up with dollies and huge tungsten lighting, and people are like, oh. And I didn't realize that one of the actors had actually never been on that like actual set environment before, and it overwhelmed them. And I realized that so our first day, for example, I kind of lost that first day in terms of performances because I didn't realize that that was what was affecting the performances. It wasn't until I was reflecting on like what happened in the day, I was like, and then had the kind of discussions with them that I realized they never told me, but it became very apparent that this wasn't a situation that they weren't expecting this, and they felt a lot of pressure suddenly, and it's like no matter how good a relationship you have with actors from talking stuff, if you don't know enough about them to know that, then it's like you're you're always looking for like what is the best way to conduct it, or to encourage a performance or to inspire performance. And it might be technical advice, right? Or it might be subtext. It might be like the psychology of the character, but it isn't always that, right? Sometimes like you need to know that actor well enough to know what the fuck might be going on with them personally. They might not be there on that day, and you need you need as many tools as you can to figure out, okay, how do I need to communicate or change the way I'm communicating, or what do I need to offer this actor to like get them in the right headspace? But you first need to know what's going wrong first. And if you think it's like storytelling, or if you think it's performance based, or then you're already trying to change the wrong thing. And so after that, I was like, okay, rehearsals are going to be super important, and that's like, there will never be an excuse for me to not fit in rehearsals. I'll just be like, look, we just have to find a way to rehearse. Even if it's 2 days before, then we'll have everyone to come to my place, and we'll spend 48 hours rehearsing, and we'll knock ourselves in quarantine style, and that will happen. We'll play it all out. And then with Final Gift, it was like the rehearsal phase had less to do with like the material. I didn't really care. Like I actually like not knowing how it's going to go on set. I don't really want it to be like a recycled performance, because you could lose stuff. You don't want to get anything too good in the rehearsal either, because then you can lose stuff, right? And also there's a pressure. There's a pressure when you're on set that's different. It's like, this is the show now, right? And so you need you need preparation, but you need enough unfamiliarity. But as a director, for you to make them feel safe that it can go wrong, then that's fine. You know, that's what a lot of actors just need to know, that they're allowed to make mistakes. So I don't like to like wear things too like thin in rehearsals. But what I spent a lot of time doing with like Finding Gift, because there was a large cast, was, or at least like a lot of the principals were, you know, there's large numbers of like main principal cast, was it was just like psychology and bonding stuff. So we did like a lot of meditation, like group meditation. We did so we did a lot of self-inquiry together. So like we'd have these big sessions where everyone would basically, I took them through this meditative exercise and did like a psychological priming exercise. That was
notes, man. Bloody hell, man.
Yeah, just basically like,
I didn't do any of this, man.
Well, yeah, like you get them like lying down for, you know, up to 15 minutes, and you just, you know, get them to just like let go of that like nervous erratic energy they have around you as the director, amongst their peers, you know, as like co-performers, and then in themselves as like, you know, I need to like do well within this rehearsal. And then, you know, we'd spend like an hour before, like without touching the script or looking or talking about anything to do with the film, and just like, you know, we'd do meditation, get them doing breath work. We do some like light touch stuff just to like kind of work on their pressure points, and then we'd do self-inquiry. And so everyone,
this is like
everyone
next level.
would discuss everyone would discuss what very, very personal details about a particular area of their life that we were all, you know, no one had to share anything. But it was like, I would always start, and I would go very deep, and that cast knows some things about me that like maybe some of you guys probably actually don't know, right? So like you go deep, and because you're going to ask an actor to be very vulnerable, because they have to, like Rian says, it's a very vulnerable craft. And so I'm not asking you to be vulnerable unless you see that I'm willing to be really vulnerable in front of you. So I would start by telling them something incredibly personal, and it would be relative to the exercise we did. And then I would see what that would open up for them. And it's, obviously like it creates safety now. And that's the whole point of that rehearsal period for me, was like, okay, let's build camaraderie. Let's build a safety net for these guys where we know we can go places and blah, 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 and get to feel comfortable with each other and feel like there's a family sense here. And that worked really well. And then, you know, in the last hour, you're then doing stuff with the scenes. And I'm super chilled with that. I'm just like, this is the time where you can like do what you want. And then we'll find some stuff that's cool. I'll see some stuff that I probably don't like, but I don't really care right now. I'm just going to make notes. And I'm mainly just looking for things that work. So let's do the scene. Let's do it sat down. Let's do it standing up. Let's, you know, do things your character you feel like they wouldn't do, like find the movement, find thing. This is it. There's no cameras. None of it's real. None of it matters. Find stuff now, and let's just like play with it so that one, that mentality stays in the film later on. And then two, there's, you know, it's more of the psychology I'm trying to work on in that rehearsal period. And then because it's very intimate, then when you're working, like you say, like there's a lot of them, but everyone also feels like they're equal because everyone's been seen. And also I'd have one-on-ones with every single one of them as well. And we do similar personal breath work and stuff like that. So then when it's on set, it's like, it's really easy, no matter what the fuck is happening. It's super easy to just go like and create a little bubble for just you guys, whether it's one-on-one or group or whatever. You have a trigger because you've built up this kind of relationship in the habits for communication in the relationship, and you know what the triggers are. So now whatever's going on, you can just call upon the trigger, and it can kind of bring them back into that headspace that we created in the rehearsal. And it's just like tunnel vision us. And then you can communicate anything you need to. And then you also feel like you understand them well enough that whatever's going on, you know where you kind of need to, you know where you need to communicate or what you need to communicate to get it. And then also those guys were just sick too. Just like, they were great. Like, you know, they just showed up and they did
which
a lot
helps.
of, they did their thing. I wish I could be like, oh man, I don't know. But the truth is, like, most of the time, like, those guys were just like crushing it take for take. And I was just like, yeah, all right, now let's do it again. I mean, but that's just my process, man. That's the yogi in me.
How closely do you guys stick to the words on the page when you're like when you're there and you're shooting? Like, how closely do you stick to what you or like your screenwriter have written?
I mean, yeah, I'm super loose, man. It's maybe not a good thing. I'm super loose. I like really don't care. I'm directing the subtext, right? So Thompson will know and Ben will know. Like well, I guess the first short film that I released was a 30-minute French film, and it was in French, and I didn't speak
Which
French
is
at the
great, by
time.
the way, guys.
Thanks, man.
If you haven't seen it, check it out. That film is wild, man. Yeah.
What's
Who's
it
this
called?
guy?
What's it called, and where is it available to watch?
Oh, Shan, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you after.
Honestly, that film is brilliant, man. I thought, why is this guy making a French film? Let's make a French film. What the hell is this guy doing? Like, he doesn't even speak French.
You know what's funny, Thomason? You know appreciation. You know your film appreciation.
Yeah.
You know how you've got a in
Yoruba?
Yeah.
I think a portion of it is so
No,
it's not all in English,
it's sort
the
of
whole
half,
film, right?
half and half. Yeah, half Euro. Right.
So I caught an early preview of that. I don't know if you remember.
Oh,
It was
really?
like a long time ago. I caught an early sort of preview of it on a private link and stuff, but it had no subtitles. So I watched the entire film thinking that this was like
Oh,
I
really?
thought that was intentional. I thought you designed the film and you made sure there were no English subtitles. And I watched that movie the first time with no subs whatsoever, man. But a testament to your skill, man, and speaking to what TJ's talking about in terms of subtext, in terms of like film being this visual language where dialogue is not a necessity. It's like I felt that shit though. You know what I mean?
Wow, man! Thank you so much.
But that film would work without subs, you know.
Yeah, I think it's always.
It would work. It could actually work.
Because yours is interesting because I saw your film. I remember we watched it together in your flat. I remember watching it for the first time, and I didn't even know Terry before this, man. You know, and I just saw the film and I thought that firstly, it's a 30-minute show. I hope I like this because if it's terrible, I just met this guy. How can I just say in a nice way that I don't like it? And I was like, the trailer looked brilliant. So I thought that I was just praying that he was good, man, because I can't hide. I don't know. I'm a bad liar, you know. And if I don't like something, I can waffle and just say, yeah, it was. But it'll be obvious that I don't like it.
I love the cinematography.
Yeah, I saw his film and I thought, firstly, 30 minutes is ballsy for a short. You know, everyone's trying to make 5-10 minute shorts, man. But Terry was like, screw that shit. I'm gonna freaking 30-minute in south of France, right? You know, and I saw it and I thought that, you know, this is like visual filmmaking because, in a way, you don't have to be French to really grasp the themes in this film. It's a film that transcends culture and language, you know, and I love films like that, man. And I thought, you know what, this is gonna be my brother because, you know, I just got what he was trying to say, you know, and I've seen the film many times since, and seeing these films like that it sort of inspired me to want to be more bold with my choices, you know, and I realized what. With the same actress as well on film, so that's actually how we actually met. Because you know, we actually worked with the same actress. But yeah, man. So yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's always interesting because
I appreciate that, man. Thank you, bro.
I've got to see this, man.
Yeah, well, no, I did. I sent it.
Bro, you have to see it, man.
But the thing is, it's weird, right? So it was my best lesson in directing a scene, like directing scenes, because I mean, okay, so I'm not gonna lie, like you learn a lot of because you get I wrote the film in English and then we had it translated by 4 people into French, and then you kind of learn the script in French, you know, and once you got used to hearing the scenes enough time, you kind of you got used to it, but you don't have a wide enough vocabulary of the language to really, like, if you would get lost, right? And but that's what was great, right? It's because you're supposed to be directing, you're supposed to be looking for subtext anyway. So it was like you're watching a scene and you're just like, I know what the scene's supposed to say underneath the script, right? So I know what the beats are supposed to be. I know what the arc of the scene is supposed to look like. Is that what I'm seeing? And it was really interesting because then I would say to them, look, the one issue with the script is that it won't have like the colloquialisms of the language in the script. And we're going to need that, right? So you need to go off the script. You know, you need to throw things in there, and because you're French, you understand that better than I do. And to take those freedoms, and because I'm not going to know anyway, so do it. Like, this is a golden opportunity. And so a lot of the times I would know, sometimes they go off on little tangents, like, because they know they could, and they go off script for a while in the scene, because that film is 30 minutes, but it's actually an hour long. The original cut is an hour long, So there's lots that's not in that film that we shot. We shot for full.
Man.
What was it, Ben? We shot for like was it 11 days?
I think it was like, I think we had 10 days principal,
Yeah.
but we were there for like 11, 12 days.
Yeah. So we
Crazy.
shot like for a lot of film, and those scenes, like the opening scene in the film, is only I think like a few minutes long, but it's like 10 minutes long. That scene, it's like them talking. That scene's inspired by Breathless, so it's them for 10 minutes just them there talking. And I knew,
that's why I loved it, man. It was just pure visual, man. And like,
it's just
but then
about
they're talking about, but they're walking in and out, and it's not just kind of one spot. They're like, there's movement in the frame, you know, and it's a visual piece of filmmaking, you know, and it's 30 minutes.
It's like, if they move away from the script, and that's great because it becomes more authentic and you could feel it. But the problem is then you're like, oh, I don't know where we are in the script. And so I realized, I was like, I can't keep getting distracted by this. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to watch. And does it feel like they're feeling the right things and talking about the right things? And even when they were going off the script and I could hear new French words, even from the last take, I still knew, like, I could go up to be like, what happened there? What did you say? That was interesting. What happened? And then they'd say, and I'd be like, I could feel it, right? And then for the next like 10 days, it was just like, all right, I don't need the words. I just need to understand. It's easy to see if they're playing it right or not. Very easy to see if they're playing it right or not. Because if I couldn't understand where they were in the script, I knew they were doing it wrong. And so we'd have to work on it. And when it's doing it right, I knew exactly where they were in the script, even when they were ad-libbing in French and then coming back to the script. I knew exactly what was going on. And then that literally reshaped my brain about how I see directing scenes, like even in English, like to the point where it's taken me a while to get back to being maybe okay at directing in English, because I really preferred that. I think it really brought out the best in me. I felt like my attention was in the right place, in a way that I feel like I get distracted by the words. Like, and that's why when Rian was like, how much do you care about the words? I've thrown it out ever since, because I realized when I do care about like the words for words, I just get caught up on that a bit. Especially if it's somebody else's writing, because I feel like I've got to honor their writing or whatever. But with my stuff and moving forward, like I care a lot about the writing process. I put like my heart into it, but I'm just going to be like, look, I wrote it the best I could so that you had the best options, but do what you want, right? Do what you want. And as long as everyone understands why they're doing it, then the scene will work. So yeah, I'm not too fast. Not too fast.
Sean, I was going to ask you, bro, because your work, you've done mostly commercial sort of like work in a sense. You know, I was going to ask about what it was like working with actors in that sense, because again, I've only done short films. I have literally not done any music videos, any ad, nothing. So that world is very new to me. So I was going to ask you, bro, because I find that in that world, it's less about the actors, more about perhaps what you're trying to say or sell, maybe. So how do you find working with actors in that sort of space where it's really more about the visual language than about what the actors are doing?
I apply probably most of the same principles that I think everybody here in this room does when I'm working with actors. But the one thing that I've learned over time is how the tone of the from product to product, from like brand to brand, from the time for the creative, from project to project. So it's funny, right? Like my favorite, like if I could, like I would shoot like a bunch of shit where everyone just like mumbles, and it's like some like Ryan Gosling, Blue Valentine type shit where everyone just kind of like mutters under their breath, and then you re-record the ADR, so it doesn't really matter. Like I would like do like really like minimalist mumblecore style performances if I could, but I'm finding that like a very recent style that I'm trying to develop in the last couple of years, really trying to do a lot more high concept stuff where the language is like very there's a lot of visual information that you can read quite quickly in like a performance, because the shot only fucking flashes for like one second or like 15 frames. So you need that, you need that reaction shot to like project and convey quite a lot in a short space of time. So like I've learned so much about kind of how the art of performance, how you have to fashion it for the duration of that compact storytelling, which you have to do in the space of 30 seconds, a minute. Whereas like if you're doing a 90-minute feature, you can you just let that shit. You can have Rooney Mara sitting on the floor eating a fucking piece of cake for like 10 minutes and shit, and like
great shot,
like,
by the way.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So so I'm finding like in the last like couple of years, especially some of the performances that I've directed, like there's a lot of exaggeration, and it's like it's very kind of there's an explicitness to the performance, and it's kind of like some of my inspirations when making stuff like that. I look at like Wright, or I look at like Jean-Pierre Jeunet, like they have like a very kind of like animated, very sort of this very like hyper real kind of thing happening, and everything moves with this kind of
same
like
pace.
and the performances are like so fucking dynamic. It's so fake, but it's so fucking cinema, man. Like it's not like that fucking like super gritty, super realistic some of the stuff that I mentioned earlier. Like it's not like that like super Indian shit where it's like super realistic performances. Like it's exaggerating, and it's hyper real, and it's cinematic. And I think that too is like something that I don't know if it gets as much appreciation sometimes, but it has it. I've learned to really appreciate it. And that's something that I've learned over time is the kind of performances that work in compact storytelling, and like, so that's
but that's interesting though, because you obviously move from short films to then obviously more commercial content. So how do you find that balance, bro? Because I was asked to do this ad sort of early this year, and it didn't quite work out, but I had only 2 minutes to tell the story. And I'm like, how is that possible? Because for me, my language is I like time. I like to sort of like be with the characters, and just having 2 minutes is not freaking enough.
bro, I got given, okay, here's, I mean, look, man, like I got given a brief 2, 3, 4, maybe it was 5 years ago, I can't remember, but I was given a brief, and it was meant to be like 90 seconds long, and I was given a script. It was meant to be like a 90-second, like, fuck, I've completely fucked up the way that I shot the performances for it, because like the performances were like, I gave them so much breathing room that when I tried to edit it, I couldn't. Like the only way that it would make sense is when I handed the only way it made sense when I handed in 4.5 minutes of it, and it was such how to capture a performance that's very compacted. And I learned over time, you know what it is? Very simply, I have to get people to do shit very quickly. Like every reaction, every sort of like the way they hit their marks and shit from like A to B, and like the turn and the head turn, like
has to be very, very precise.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, it's got to be precise, and it's got to be and the staging and everything, and the marking. It's got to be fast. It's about speed. If you watch a lot of advertising, high concept advertising. It's like performances, like boom, 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 boom.
Like theatre in that sense, where you just everything has to be kind of structured in a particular way.
What are you gonna say? Ciao.
Yeah, but I find theatre though is different, because you have some sort of breathing space, and and I think with sort of like ads, I just that world confuses me, because I think that it contrasts what I do, because you can't even work with actors properly, because they're just almost like you have to place them where you want. And I know obviously Wes Anderson does that, but then he does that, but it's still creative because they still act in a very way, but it's still pure, it's still very, very much engaging. So I don't know. This is why for me, I've avoided ads. I've been offered stuff pay. I'm like, nah, because I don't want to confuse myself. And I find that, because I know how I work and I like how I work. And I find that if I start doing loads of ads, my mind, it might seep into my filmmaking, and that's dangerous. I think. I don't know. But that's just me.
That's
and
amazing.
My friends are like,
that's
I
really,
just can't.
pretty brave of you.
Right. Yeah.
It's just very. So Sean, who does both, I've always wondered about guys who does. They do both really well. How do you find that balance?
Gents, I envy y'all. That's what I'm gonna say. Like, I want to do, I want to do like stuff that has a little breathing room sometimes. Like, I want shots to linger and run, and I want people to find emotion in pockets of of the edit that are just feeling like ambience and all those things. So as much as I love, I love and I appreciate the craft of advertising. I think there's incredible craftsmanship. I think it's like such a skill to be able to make make a commercial nowadays, but yeah, like I love being able to see what you guys do, which is it's another side it's another side to direction and human psychology and emotion that I definitely envy it, and it's what I would actually like to do more of that, because that to me it's a closer reflection of reality. I think sometimes what you guys are trying to achieve sometimes is you're getting closer to like the real thing sometimes. That's cool too.
There are definitely pros and cons to both, because I also come from like an advertising background, and I spent 6 years in advertising, and I it's really funny. I was cutting together the show reel that Ben and I shot, like this acting show reel that we shot last January, and I sent one of the actresses like a second or third cut of it, and she said, it's really interesting, that opening, I like it, but I feel like it needs more breathing space. And like coming back to what Thompson was saying, I was like, shit, I feel like maybe this is like 6 years, and this is what 6 years in advertising does to you, You go in there and you're like, shit, I need to cut straight to the fucking story and
chop it up.
Exactly, chop it up.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, you're less precious, I think, about your own work, and it's like, you know what, if I'm not telling the story, or if this particular scene or this moment, or sequence doesn't add to, doesn't enhance the overall narrative, it should probably go. So I don't know, I get pros and cons,
It's perfect as well. Like, with the show reel, like, I guess the point is it's if there's a showcase for your abilities as an actor, both for yourself and obviously like others. So I guess in that point, you aren't looking for the kind of nuances that, you're not looking for, what's the right word? The atmosphere as such. You're just looking for like the reactions almost. And, I remember because when I started like doing them, I was speaking to this casting director, Bo, who lives near me in Kingston. And, I was asking her, I was like, I showed her some of my work and stuff. She was like, your stuff's great, but it's the same thing. Like, you send that to any of casting agencies, they don't care, because they get millions and millions and millions of these videos like week in, week out. So they just want you to like get straight to the point. They want you to go straight in. I want to see what you can do. Bing, bang, bang, off we go. So again, it comes back to that, the purpose of the material really. And yeah, I think it's again, like what you said, like trying to find that balance in between. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, because I'm kind of, I think out of everyone here, I've done amount of everything you can almost imagine. I don't even know how. Like, I think everyone else here managed to kind of find their calling a lot earlier on, whereas I was still discovering myself as a filmmaker. So I got into directing quite late, I'd say, in the game. But obviously the experience of working on different sets or working in different projects opened my eyes up to the different ways and the different kind of processes from each one. So I guess in that way, I was fortunate that I took little chunks of each one that I thought would like worked well for me as like, as an individual and as a creator and as a director now. and that's been really beneficial to me. I've been able to kind of switch on and off when I needed to. But I would definitely say, I think like most of you sort of just said before, it's having that space and having that time to really curate and let something find itself as well. I think is invaluable, really. I think that's what we're all trying to do, aren't we? That's what we're all chasing for.
I think
ultimately.
it's trying to find that as well when you have no time, when you're stressed, when you haven't eaten properly, when you're not hydrated, when so where and everyone's waiting on you to Thomason, what's next? Let's go. Let's go, Thomason. What do you want to do?
10 questions at once.
I'm like, let me fucking think. I'm not like I know, and it's stressful. I think that at any level, short film level, feature level, this is why for me, I'm now trying to transition into doing more TV work, because I find that that's where I'm trying to go to now this year, because I haven't done that before, and I've only done shorts, and TV is a whole different language. The pace is frightfully quick, so I want to, and it's multi-camera as well, which I haven't done before. So my next sort of like task is just this year trying to break into that world, because it pays well. It's not ads. I mean, I love ads, but I don't want to make ads. But it's like it's close to film, and TV now is almost like film, because of the advent of all these cameras. And so for me, man, I want to break into that world, because like it just feels exciting that you're working on a block of episodes. You're doing 2 blocks. You have to work with these actors that have done this for many months, and you have to seamlessly merge yourself into this world, and it's fast paced, and so I want to really break into that. Well, this year, that's my goal anyway, because I find that it'll help me make my debut feature film, because of Terry, you were saying earlier that your short was 11 days, man. That's wild for me, because the most I've shot anything is like 4 days, and that was long. I was by the end, I was in bed like I was passed out. I slept for 2 days straight. I couldn't eat. And that's 4 days, man. You shot for 11 days. How do you keep your mental strength?
That's a really good question. Yeah, how'd you keep your mental strength?
Dude, it's my favorite place to be. Like, I'm like, fair enough. Look, I'm stressed. I think only one film where I was literally like, I'm actually more stressed than I am kind of having a good time right now. But most of the time, I'm just like, I'm the least anxious person on the set. I don't care if anything goes wrong, because things are just fucking always going wrong in some way, respect or another. If the scene's going great, the producer comes up to you like some logistical thing went wrong, that's going to affect the next scene. I'm like, okay, great. Well, that's my day now, So I'm just always happy to be making the film. I romanticize it so many times in my head, and had anxiety and sleepless nights about if that is actually going to work. If when I get on set and communicate this blocking and this fucking 6-minute one take shot, is everyone actually going to understand what the fuck I'm talking about? And it's just always like I'm always going to be the first one that wakes up that day, and probably the last one that goes to sleep, and not have any less energy, because it's like this weird drug. So the way you feel in that 4 days, it doesn't change. Like, it just stays. And I guess if you're working on like a really long project, like you're going to do 20 days or more, you're going to get like your weekends off, whatever. We did go the 10 days just straight, or the 11 days just straight. But it was more like the crew. I was like, okay, can these guys, that was the hard part, is like keeping the energy on set for other people, because they're not going to have the same depth of motivation as you. And that was the hardest part for me. It was like, cool, I could just wake up.
It's a morale game.
Yeah,
I agree with you, TJ. It's a morale game.
Yeah, other people's energy dips, and some people energies between factions and departments can change, and over that course of the time, and that's the stuff that then gets hard. It can create the longer people together, and especially like a small budget like indie film like that, it can create friction over that time, and they haven't had a break from each other, and so but we were in the south of France. It was lucky. We just had days where we're shooting a scene in this beautiful lagoon, basically, And so after the scene's
Oh,
done,
man.
everyone just hung out and we just ate food. And, you know, we got wine for people. Like there's a rule in France where you have to have at minimum 2 glasses of wine for your crew in a 12-hour shoot, in an 8-hour shooting day. So we abided to that. So people, everyone liked that rule. So like we just started taking a lot more of the logistical budget, like for the food, and we're like, all right, let's push that out a bit more and get a bit more wine for the end of the shoot, so we can just have people. And people that we learned that like 4 days in, and then we realized when there was friction, we just had to have days end with more wine, and then that, like everyone was really happy the next day. So
speaking of someone who was a part of that process, T, I must say that was my first. I think that was the best lesson I ever learned, especially from you. But as a director now, like to implement in my own work, it's just like be the nicest, be the most hype person on that set. Because when it all comes down to it, and everyone's looking to you, you can just be like, "Well, I'm chilled, so you guys have got to be cool," you know. And I think the way that you had such a high level of respect for everyone as well. Like, I mean, we didn't know each other that well at that point. I think maybe a year or so. So I was still learning a lot about, you know, yourself as a filmmaker, and also myself as a filmmaker. You know, meeting all these new amazing people and collaborators and stuff, and it was such a wild experience. It felt more like a working holiday, you know, really.
Awesome.
That primarily, bro, honestly. And obviously, like I'm similar to you in the sense that I love being on set. I know a lot of filmmakers say it's the process they do. It's like the price they have to pay to get into edit room. Whereas I disagree with that. I absolutely adore being on set. Like, I work my ass off in the writing process to get to that point on set. I'm like, now I get to have fun and actually make this thing become a reality almost. And I think a lot of that does go down to the environment that you create, man. Because if, you know, as you say, things are always going to go wrong. But if everyone's got a call, either is in the right zone, or they don't feel that pressure, they feel that they're able to overcome it, you know, without an unassuming amount of anxiety, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, here's a funny question, gang.
I think it's the best place to be, but it's also the most.
No, go on. T, go. I'll come back to it. It's just a funny question.
No, that's right.
Honestly, go.
No, I was just saying. No, I was saying it's the best place to be, but it's also the most. It can be unpleasant, I find sometimes, because I think we are always the hardest working people there. And I think I've worked in films where I've worked with crew members who are just don't share the same passion or drive, and it's probably one of the hardest things that even actors as well, they don't have, you know, they don't want to be there. There's ego, and I dealt with that a few times, and I think it tests you, you know, because it's stressful already making a film. But when you have crew members, even I'm talking about your DP as well, who just thinks that they're the director and actors that don't give a crap about what you're saying because, you know, you haven't done that many films. And so it's hard because you have to just think about the film and just try and make it work, you know. And I've experienced so many things like that I think it tests and questions your passion for it, because it's just, you're like, you know, is this worth it, you know? And you know, and it's mostly unpaid and it's your money most times, so you're like, I'm losing money and this is going to be crap. You know, I don't know, it's yeah, it's a strange process.
I want to round this up with 3 questions, and again, I say round this up, but these 3 questions could like drag out, but we'll see how we go. So first question. first question.
Yeah. Happy 2021, guys. We made it.
So first question is, what is the either the scariest experience you've had on set, or kind of most like your on set, your director horror story? We'll start with Ben, I guess, and because everyone's had them, and these are my favorite stories. Because it's a precursor, especially if like let's say there's like aspiring short filmmakers that watch this, because me and Ben are planning to plug this through some like student film groups and stuff. You know, this is like word of caution to the brave, right? Like, what's that one moment that one time during a film you made where you're like, this is like, oof, this is, I need to step, like, this is, oof. Start with Ben.
Because I've only made one short film to date,
Any directing experience.
So, but my first one was, what's that? Sorry.
Any directorial work, including music, including content and music videos,
Okay.
anything.
All right then. I would say, because my first film was actually a lot of a pleasant experience, but that was luckily because my collaborator Taz Skyler, who's also the writer, actor, he knew, like, we already pre-worked out like blocking and stuff. So, like, you know, from that sense, we did the rehearsals in that way where we already knew what we were going to do because we knew we had a limited amount of time. So that was more like me and Anthony, the DP, finding the right angles and finding the right ways to communicate that part of the story. But the one that really got me was we shot this music video for the composer Adrian Lung, who obviously Terry, myself, have worked with quite a few times. And yeah, what a guy! Give him a shout out. And I had this really lovely DP who unfortunately was a little bit more green than I originally had thought about. So, as well as having to direct the actors and stuff, I spent a lot of time doing camera and technical things, which I really didn't want to do because I come from a camera background originally, and obviously moving into directing, I wanted to distance myself from that and focus more on, you know, the performances or the nuances or the things that I was really, you know, that I felt were more important for me. And it made things a little bit difficult because I had to kind of try and wear both hats then. So I felt that I didn't have the opportunity to put in as much time as I would have liked to. So yeah, that would be my mini horror story. It's not really that big a deal, I guess. We made it and it came out okay, so I can't really complain.
You got through
it. Yeah, you know, that's all you can ask for. As long as you can make the thing and like get it finished, like, who cares? Honestly, like, most of the time we learn more from our failures, I believe, than our successes anyway.
Amen.
So actually, like, as you said before, Thomason, like, you know, the more challenges you face, I feel like the faster you're going to grow because you've had all these things hit you, and you'd rather have them earlier on than when you say, like, you know, you're on a set where there's a lot of pressure because there's a lot of money involved, or, you know, like for you, Shan, if you're working on a big commercial for a brand, there's an innate sense of pressure. So I feel like having these little mishaps actually are great. They're really beneficial. It's almost like you want to force yourself to find them quicker.
Shan, what about you, bro?
But Shan has loads, man. Shan has loads, bro. Get ready.
The scariest one.
I'm under NDA on a bunch of shit, so I'm just trying to be selective here without getting litigation proceedings. All right, so you know what? It depends. It varies product to product. So look, I mean, I've done a few short film pieces in the past. I mean, I enjoyed those. Were pretty cool. They were pretty chill because they're a bit more of like an indie affair. But if you're doing something that's a bit more high level and there's a lot of money and there's like a lot of people overseeing, and it's almost like a lot of advertising. So there's a lot of cooks in that kitchen. Some of those cooks come to set. So, you know, when you end up with, without naming names, like a client comes to set, for example, I mean, I've had a few challenges there in the past where I do my best and stuff, but I was on this one shoot and the client that came up on set had their own sort of, had their own sort of bureaucratic, political issues. And this one client literally started directing over me on set and telling my DP right down to literally telling our gaffer to turn off the smoke machine, telling my DP to change the contrast ratio and shit, like for our lighting.
Wow.
It's like that was hard, man. That was a very hard experience. But I tried to keep my composure and stuff because you can't blow your composure in these situations. This is your career on the line. There's a lot of people in this room that you're trying to maintain relationships with and stuff. So you know, you have this person kind of trying to sort of direct your vision and stuff, and your voice and all nuances of your style and the way that you the way that you execute, you know, the way you want to execute it, because you know how you got to capture it, to how you got to get it in the edit. and also stylistically and production design and everything else, and cinematography so important to me as well. So to kind of that for me was like, that was very hard. That I would say for a lot of people, especially if, you know, we're talking advertising space, having a client on set is like, sometimes that can sometimes be a nightmare. Had a lot of wonderful clients as well that are willing to put trust in you and empower you and kind of let you and believe in your skill, and will let you kind of just get on with it. So yeah, man, that's one
dark. That's pretty
horror
dark.
story,
Oh,
guys.
Many.
I'd be out of a job straight away. I'd just drape you off. I'd straight away.
You'd be on your Kubrick shit, bro. You wouldn't be
I'd
having that, bro.
I'd get no commercial work after that job was done. But that guy that person wouldn't be on my set again. Thomas, what about you, bro?
Mine would be not my last short film, my film Appreciation. Actually, so that was meant to be a 2-day shoot, but it ended up being a 3-day shoot because I remember when I was directing all the scenes in a church, I got a voice in my ear, and it was probably the voice I didn't want to hear, and I was told basically, this is when I was about to work on the scene where the hands come on the head, and and I was really worried because I wanted that to be one take, and there was extras, and so whilst I was doing that, I got a voice in my ear telling me, so actually, Thomason, so when we were exporting the files yesterday for yesterday's shoot, we might have.
I know where this is going.
We might have lost half of what we shot, but we aren't sure yet. But we just wanted to let you know. I'm like, why are you freaking telling me this now? Like, you should have told me at the end of the day.
Man. You should have waited until you're done with the shot,
bro. And basically, 30 minutes later, I learned that it was actually lost. So yeah, and the first day was the hardest day of the shoot. Like, and in my head, I think I could either break down right now and just cry, or I could just keep on smiling and keep on shooting. I've got all these extras here who are my church members who don't want to be here. I had 75 extras at the start of the day. I ended up with 30 because some just left because they were pissed off that they thought it was going to be like a 30-minute thing. Come in, sit down, and I'm like, and they were there all day. So I just went into like a quiet corner, and just, I didn't cry, but I just thought, I thought about what it meant to me, what it meant to me. I thought about, I can't get this scene again because of all the extras I have to get. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to keep on shooting. And that was for me, I think I've ever experienced, because half of what we shot was good, which we're all proud of. And I knew that I would have to shoot it again. But I just banged out that day, and then we shot 1 week later all the scenes again, and it was just painful because someone messed me up, man. Like someone was exporting the file and accidentally deleted all the footage. Like, I mean, yeah, man. And I trusted that because I didn't hire that guy. I trusted the person that I hired to watch them and to what. Anyway. But but what's interesting, what actually happened was the stuff I was better than the stuff I shot. So, and then in a way, I realized that it was actually better that I lost it because, I had more time. I had a week to actually prep for the reshoot. So I could think about the choices I made before, work with the actors. And these scenes were the scenes where she was driving in a car, the scenes where they were walking outside. Anyway, but you have to just sort of think to yourself, you can either break down now and what you're shooting now will be crap because you're stressed and you're emotional, or you can just be director and direct. And at the end of the day, cry and, break down. But you just got to keep on going.
What exactly did you have to reshoot?
So I had to reshoot the stuff in the house, some scenes in the house as well, where she woke up, and so it's bits and pieces were just lost. And so I remember at the end of that day, we just watched through all the files and to see what we had left, and I remember my DP Orlan was just kind of he was like, bro, we have to come back and do it again, bro. But we ended up shooting it not on the Ari because we couldn't afford it. We used the black magic instead. Yeah, we used the black magic that again because my DP was great. was actually seamless. It matched.
Yeah, you can't
because
tell
he
the
could
difference.
light it in a certain way. Honestly, but I think that will happen inevitably as a director. You lose stuff that you've shot, and I could have just broken down, and all the scenes in the church would have been terrible. My mind wouldn't be on there. I'll be worried about the fact that crap. It's the money that I had to pay the actors again. I had to pay crew members to come back. But what happened was me and my DP it was just me and him, because we couldn't afford to pay all the gaffer. So Orlan just basically toughed it out, man. I don't know how he did it, but it was just me and him. We just came back 1 week later and did it.
Shout out man.
Legend. I remember you telling me that. That was crazy.
Dude, that's one of the scariest things I can imagine ever. Like, props, damn.
Rian, bro.
That happened to me too, by the way, Tom.
Oh, really? Bro.
Yeah. Lost half a day's worth of footage. Lost like 2-3 scenes for like a short. But this was for a short film though. But we just had to do reshoots.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing.
But I feel your pain, man. I think everybody's been through that, right? Everybody's lost some footage somewhere along the way. Learn from their mistakes,
but
hopefully. So,
this was different because it wasn't like it was a one-man team, just me doing it with some friends. This is where I was paying these people, bro, and that's what pissed me off more than anything, because you have one job, and you couldn't do that job. Everyone in a set has a specific role, and out of your carelessness, it meant that it cost me money because. Did you
fire your DIT, Tom?
Exactly.
Did Ellie fire your DIT?
I got that much money, bro. I couldn't even afford to fire it. He was doing me a favor, bro. He's taking a reduced pay, and he still messed up, man. I don't know.
Oh dear, Rian, go, bro. It's your. Hopefully it doesn't look darker than that.
Rahan, is it just you left?
Come on, Rayhan. What's yours, bro? I think I probably know yours. We've spoken a lot about. Your past
so on the last short film I did,
which is brilliant, by the way, guys. I don't know if you guys haven't seen it. You have to see.
I need to get this film after the call.
DD, watch that film, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
DD's fire, bro. Masterpiece.
It looks amazing.
So we had to find an abortion clinic, right, to shoot in. Obviously, like, no abortion clinic was going to let us inside, so we ended up shooting inside an old people's home, and all we really needed was like an old people's essentially what we needed was like something that looked like an abortion clinic waiting room. So we ended up filming inside one room of like an old people's home. And we're there, it's like about 11 o'clock at night, everybody's really, really exhausted, and I'm working with essentially a team of like 17-year-olds. Almost everybody on my crew was like undergrad level, and like they just graduated school, they just started universities, working with a very, very young crew. Many of them hadn't picked up a camera before, so this is like their first filmmaking experience. So we're in this really, really like blazingly fucking hot like common room. And we hear like a noise outside, and we see someone like walking around, and I could hear it on my headphones, and I was like, what the fuck's going on outside? Because like that's interrupting the sound inside the common room. And my producer came, and my producer was just like, I think there's an intruder in the building. And we I was like, okay, let's all keep calm, like nothing to worry about, I hope. And like we saw this guy come back down and then go back up, and then we basically had to like shut the shoot down for like about an hour. We had to call the police because there was an intruder in this old people's home, and apparently they get a lot of intruders coming in trying to like steal people's shit, right?
What?
Like, yeah, I mean, people are like in the 80s, right? And there are people in this living in this building who are in their 80s, and I mean, aren't going to know there's somebody in their room stealing their shit, So apparently, like, and I guess security wasn't that great. So this guy came in, we had to call the police, and the police turned up, and like, that took a while. I mean, luckily there were like we were able to finish the shoot off, and no one was hurt or anything like that. But that was totally unexpected, an intruder in old people's home. I'd say that'd be the first incident. but on the previous short film that I did, Red Mustang,
which is brilliant as well, guys. You have to see that film.
Red Mustang.
I haven't even seen Rayhan's shorts, man. Gotta see.
That's a great
Red
short.
Mustang.
I sent Sean that. I didn't think Sean's seen that. Sean hasn't seen that. I think you guys have seen it.
Which short, Rahan?
This is Red Mustang. This is the film I made before DD. I made it in Sri Lanka before doing my degree. Maybe I sent it to you. Yeah. Maybe I sent it to you. So like we need to rent like a fucking Mustang out for this, right? And the like Mustang costs like, you know, more than the budget of the whole film, right? And I remember going to the rental company with like my producer, and he was just like, dude, like we gotta make doubly sure that like nothing gets damaged, man. Like, you know, this is pretty like, this is really, really expensive stuff. It's a 24 million rupee car, you know, like we can't like crash this, you know. We're absolutely fucked, you know, like we crash this thing. And so I was like, yeah, sure, you know, like fair enough. So like the person, the actress driving the car is my sister, right? She comes on to set, and I was just like, so you've had like you've been driving for like a few years now, right? Because she got her license a couple of years before, and she was like, well, this is like the second car I've driven. I haven't really like driven before as such, you know, apart from the car I learned in, you know, during my like driving during my like driving lessons and stuff. So like I got my dad to give her like a little refresher course, and he comes in just before like I was about to shoot, right? Just before I was about to leave for location. My dad is just like, she needs more lessons, and I was just like, I don't need to be hearing this. You know, I really don't want to hear this. You know, like, oh my God. Anyway, we did like a few like test shots, and I was just like, listen, I know right at the end of the film you're meant to zoom off car, but I want you to like gradually like increase pace, you know. But like we're gonna be following in the front, and got and said she did it. She was perfect, and there were just a few takes left, right? These are the final few takes of the shoot, and in one scene she reverses the car back, like she drives out of this building with the car that she's stolen, blah blah blah. So I was like, cool, you know, I love that take. When we do one or two more, just safety. And at that point, she gotten so cocky, my sister, that like she basically reversed so hard that the car zoomed back so quickly that she nearly ran the cinematographer over. And I just remember seeing this poor guy run for his fucking life, right? Whilst his car's like zooming back, like reversing back, about to knock him over. And everyone just starts screaming, right? Like, stop. Anyway, she managed to like...
Did you have public liability insurance, Rahan?
Sorry?
Did you have public liability insurance, Rahan?
What is that?
And I was just like, wow. You know, I mean, I can pay for his hospital bills, but I can't pay for the car's hospital bills. You know?
Or his funeral.
It's gonna put me out of the, you know, like thinking about no, it was pretty hectic, and that is a learning for us. But yeah, I think that would probably be like the scariest moment I've experienced on set.
Yeah, someone nearly dying, that's pretty up there, bro.
Someone nearly dying is pretty...
True lost footage, man. That's freaking, you know, someone dying is...
Yeah, you know. Yeah. Never trust your sister, you know. Don't let your sister drive.
How are you guys doing for time at the moment?
Yeah, I was just about to say that I was going to...
about 10 more minutes. I got 10 more minutes.
All right, we could, yeah. I mean, why not? Let's bang it out to the quarter past mark. I guess it's like nearly 10 past.
Cool. My missus wants me to catch.
We want to go around and talk about a film that we've seen of late that we really like, or something like that.
That's not going to happen. There's no way that's going to happen in 6 minutes. No way.
Wait. What's the challenge?
careful, dude. We're here to
What's-
moderate.
what's
and
the game?
cut us off,
What's the game, Rahan?
you know? Talk about a film that you feel really passionately about that you've seen in like the last month.
One
or, like,
film. Only one
One
film.
film, yeah, one film.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
One film each.
We have
Alright.
6
it
minutes,
could be a film
guys.
that you've seen like the
Alright.
first time or a
TJ
film
start.
you've
TJ start. Go
revisited.
TJ.
A film I've seen in the last month that I really liked, Uncut Gems.
Ooh,
Mm.
okay.
So good.
Actually, I think I saw it over a month
So
ago,
good.
but I haven't been watching too many films, so I'll go with Uncut Gems.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah. Me and Terry were talking about that yesterday, Ryan, when you took me for my birthday and we saw it on
Yeah.
35mm print.
Oh my god.
So good, man.
So beautiful.
That was so good, yeah.
You know, but I'll be honest. I love Uncut Gems, but the film that did it for me was Good Time.
Good Time.
The
Yeah,
previous
yeah,
Safdie
yeah.
Brothers
Good
flick.
Time. Love Good Time.
That
I haven't seen.
that was like my favorite movie of 2017. I love Good Time so much, man. That's the kind of film I wish I made when I saw it. The opening, that opening 20-minute sequence with the fucking pounding techno music and the bank chase and shit. I was like, I wish I made this movie. That's I love that movie, man. Great film.
So good.
Yeah, it's a good film.
So good.
Someone throw it out.
So this is a recommendation from Terry actually, but I watched The Rover just after we watched Good Time because it was on a Patterson hype, and for me I was like, well, that's probably his best role he's ever done ever.
Yeah, easy.
Like I don't know how he'll top that. It was incredible. But what I loved about that film was its simplicity, and yet it had so much to say about like us as like humanity. Like basically, it was a great example of like, you know, a situation where you have nothing. Like how do we still live in a civilized world? How do we treat each other? And I feel like the way that he portrayed that film was just amazing. Yeah. And it helped having Natasha Bray as your cinematographer as well. Is
the director of that? Is that David Michaud?
Yeah.
And it's Guy Pearce, right? As well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dope film. Is it post-apocalyptic? Is it post-apocalyptic?
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember.
post-apocalyptic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Great film. Probably one of the best soundtracks you'll ever hear as well in the film. I was in love with it. It was crazy.
Dope.
Go on then, we're 2 in. We're not doing too bad so
I think mine was probably I saw this early Feb. The Farewell. I don't know. Yeah. So I saw that early Feb, and you know, for me as a Nigerian British man, and you know the type of films I make, I saw that and I thought, damn, this is masterful. It's funny and sad. Just a well-made film that, and I love that it was mostly in Chinese as well. I freaking love that, man. Like, and she fought for that because they wanted her to make it mostly American, and for her, she wanted to make a film that was really personal to her. And I really love that film, and you know, really inspired by it, man. I went home freaking like, shit, you know, like, you know, these films like these are being made, and you know, she's the type of that I want to be like because she's making.
Thomason, when I saw The Farewell and that sort of like melancholic atmosphere that it had to it, and when I saw Farewell, I was going to say to you, bro, I think you're going to love this movie. Like, it's got ideas of like grief and mourning and longing and it's a melancholia to it. And I remember I caught a similar sort of sensibility and appreciation. There's a little bit of spirit. There's a certain kind of spirit there. Yeah,
honestly, bro, it's in the past sort of like 5 years, man, like a film I've seen in a cinema that has affected me so powerfully because it's like, you know, as a Nigerian, I got the cultural references, bro. I was like, damn, I get it, you know, and it explores grief in a way that is beautiful and tragic, but hopeful. I'm like, how do you do that, man? It's a second feature film as well, man. Like, it's mad, man. So inspired by that. So, Rayhan, what's yours, bro?
I think if I had to select...
You've seen all these films, brother, but like, I know you just try and scale it down to one film.
50 films that I watched in the last 2 weeks, no. I mean, I think if I had to choose a film, I would probably have it would have to be Waves.
Oh,
which is,
yes,
that.
bro.
like,
Waves.
like so audacious, so brave, just a phenomenal film on every fucking level. It was just, I think it's just like unlike anything I've ever seen before. It has like, it has like it has the influence of like Terrence Malick, because like the director, who's 31, which means he's probably made it when he was like 29. I mean, like he interned under Malick, but like all the performances, the structure is incredibly unconventional. So it's told from two different points of view, and like the film kind of takes this sharp turn at the halfway mark, which is incredibly unconventional. And again, I've never seen anything like that. It changes aspect ratios. I saw them do things with cameras that I've never done, like 360-degree shots with cameras inside cars. And I was like, fuck, man, this guy is like on it. I was reading up about it as well, and like he'd apparently when he wrote his script, he wrote in colors and he wrote in songs, and he formatted it in such a way that when the actors read the script on their computer, there was music playing along to different scenes, and there was certain sections in different colors, and I was just like, it's phenomenal, like prep that must have got, a crazy amount of prep that must have gone into it. And like he's used all of these songs, I feel like from like my undergrad from my undergrad days, like a lot of great music by like Animal Collective and Tame Impala and Frank Ocean, and it's just it's like it'll make you cry, it'll make you laugh. It's just man, I've just like never seen anything like it. And if you guys haven't seen it, please watch it.
I want to see it.
So good.
This is probably cheating. Sorry. Oh, sorry. This is probably cheating, but you saying that film, I saw a film called Long Day's Journey into Night. I saw that like last.
See that too.
I saw that 3 weeks ago, and sorry, that was the one I was meant to say, because that film has changed my freaking life, man. Like, it's half in 3D, half in 2D.
What?
The last, there's a 45-minute long take. There's a 45-minute long take in 3D, bro. And I saw that.
Began film.
Yeah, by this guy who's 28 years old. His second feature film, Long Day's Journey Tonight. Seek it, and it's hard to explain what it is, because it's like a dream. That's all I can say, man. It's just that 45-minute long take is one of the most like ambitious thing I've ever seen, because it's not just a take that the camera is just going straight up. It goes to the sky and comes down. It's going through houses and like offices and like shops, and it was shot. He shot it 3 times and used the final take. 45 minutes. Over 250 actors and extras.
And it's
pardon.
legit one shot. There's no...
Bro,
like,
one freaking... Dude, I researched it just trying... Because I thought it was maybe that they'd cheated it in some way, but it's a long... Honestly, it's masterful.
That's amazing.
And just, to even uncoupling... To actually realize something like that is so incredible, bro. And yeah, I mean... Definitely worth watching, man. So that's my film. I think that's it.
So
Time's up.
Oh, okay.
No, Shad, you gotta go, man. You go,
I'm just speaking very quickly to what Rohan said. Waves is, for me, that's a once in a generational film experience right there, bro. I see you on that. That it's got, from the time that they had frickin' Kanye, I Am a God from his Yeezus album on the freaking soundtrack in the cinema. I was like, and Frank Ocean, and not even like an album cut, but like a deep cut, like an unreleased Frank Ocean song is on the soundtrack for that. I was like, this film's like, it could only have been made at this point in time, at this point in culture. You know what I mean? Incredible film. I will see Long Day's Journey tonight. I downloaded it. So
you have to be the right headspace to watch.
But my recommendation,
it's a trip. It's a trip, bro. And you aren't ready for the trip, because So watch it when you literally don't have anything on. Like, just don't have any. You don't even have any crisps on you. Just
no crisps.
Just no
all
food.
Right, Thomason, chill, man. Jesus, I can't go watching a film without popcorn, bro. That's unreligious.
Puritanical shit right there, Tom.
Gotta be a pure experience, man. Pure experience.
My my recommendations would be this. Recently, just because of what's happening at the moment, I'm like, I guess I've been seeking out, and maybe it's just timing, but like there's a number of sort of high concept, allegorical kind of sci-fi movies at the moment that I've really been enjoying. The two most recent ones that have just come out. One was The Platform, which is on Netflix at the moment, Spanish movie.
Yeah, watched that the other day.
Yeah, that shit was dope.
That was dark.
It was so
That
it
was
was
dark.
it was so dark, and it's so violent, but it's also so damn
Dark.
entertaining. And yeah, like all the kind of metaphors kind of hit you over the head with that film, but I loved it. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it so much.
Horror sci-fi film.
Say again?
Was that like horror sci-fi?
Yeah,
it's-
yeah,
yeah.
it's,
Like
yeah, yeah,
dystopian, yeah, kind of.
yeah, probably. But
Nice, I need to check
that
it
that
out.
was amazing. Reminded me of a film from the late '90s called Cube. Very sort of similar concept.
Yeah, remember that? Jesus.
Yeah. So I recommend The Platform, and I'm cheating, but I want to throw this in because I watched this 1 or 2 days ago. It's called Vivarium, and it's got
Heard about that.
It's got Jesse Eisenberg in it, Imogen Poots, and it's
Oh, cool.
just
Sounds wild, bro.
It
Sounds
is. It's
wild.
like watching an extended version of a Black Mirror episode. It's about it again. It's like high concept sci-fi allegory, lots of subtext, loads of metaphors and stuff. But that shit was absolutely flames. So those are my two recommendations: Platform and Vivarium. Check that shit out. Yeah.
Great recommendations, gang. That was amazing. You well done. I know that was so difficult for you guys to have a conversation under 6 minutes. You failed, but you did better than I expected. You did better than I expected.
You did like 13, yeah.
Yeah, you
Did
did
all right.
amazing. So listen, thank you so much for your time. I super appreciate it. I'm actually looking forward to chopping this up and getting this out. I'll keep you updated with that. And everyone, like, dump all your like the gateways to your work in the thread that we've got on WhatsApp, so I can catch up on everyone's work. And yeah, we'll catch up on there. But until then, amazing talks, bro. All right, gang. Ciao, ciao.
Peace.